What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Playbook Sports Podcast. Another week, another mock draft coming to you guys this week. And I've been reading all of your guys' comments, kind of taking all of everything you guys are saying under consideration when I'm doing these. You can't please everybody, right? You're going to do your very best. However, for this mock draft, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the pick that I am the most confident in this team making if there are no trades. Now, I will talk about some spots where I think there could be some trades, but the picks I am most confident in is going to be this mock draft. Now, maybe the next one is who would I take in these spots? We'll see. But for today, this mock draft is going to just be who do I think that this team drafts at this spot in the first round. Let's get right into this one. And we're going to start off with Tennessee. And obviously the conversation is around quarterback. However, it seems like their new GM maybe isn't about it. He said, we're going to take the generational player. I think he's talking about Abdul Carter, and I think that is who they're targeting. This is obviously a down quarterback year, right? Not to talk too much smack about Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. They would be the fifth or sixth best guys in last year's class. They're just not on that level of prospect that we saw in the 2024 NFL draft. I mean, there aren't any CJ Strouds in this class. There's no guys you're like, this guy's a star. There just aren't in this draft. So when he says generational, you can really come down to two guys. Is he talking about Travis Hunter or is he talking about Abdul Carter? And if you're going to say Travis Hunter's generational, what position? Wide receiver or DB? Probably DB, but even so, it's like, are we sure that we consider that generational? Abdul Carter, I've said it several times, this is his first year as a pass rusher. He's never going to be as bad as he was this year ever again. He was out there playing fantastic football with one arm. In this season, as a pass rusher for the first time in his career, 13 sacks, 43 quarterback hurries. He's edge one. He's the best player in this class. Based on everybody's film that I've watched, he's the best player in this class, man. And you pair him up with Myles Garrett, or even if you're thinking rebuild and Myles Garrett's going to go, this is your star pass rusher to step right in. He is an unbelievable athlete. I think that is the position of need for the Tennessee Titans along with quarterback. I just don't see a QB going one overall. I think the Titans, especially with the new GM saying generational, that tipped me off. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are not generational prospects. Abdul Carter just might be. We shouldn't throw that word around a lot because it gets thrown around way too loosely. However, if there is a player in this class that should get that tag, I think it's Abdul Carter. Puts the Browns in an interesting spot. You need a QB. You need a running back. You need a tackle, and you need a corner. We're not going to go Ashton Genty. That'd be crazy. So you're talking really quarterback or corner, because I don't think there's a tackle that should go top two, and I don't think the Browns go with a tackle top two. Your best offensive lineman in this class, Will Campbell, who I'm not as high on as I was at one point. I'll get into that when I talk my offensive line rankings. However, I think that this one's tough. And I'm just letting the board kind of fall to me and who's available here. I'm going to go Travis Hunter. No, I'm not. No. Cam Ward's on the board. I think that they go quarterback if Cam Ward's there. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is worth going pick number 2. I'm not even sure Cam Ward is worth going pick number 2, but Cleveland needs something. Deshaun Watson's out the whole year next year. You don't know if Jameis Winston's going to come back. You don't have a quarterback on your roster. I think they'll go Cam Ward here because quarterbacks always go earlier than they should. So I'm going to go with Cam Ward here. I could see the argument for Travis Hunter, who I have. I'm going to have him go third overall to the Giants. No, I'm not. Because, guys, it's a quarterback-driven league. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is the third best player in this draft class. I do not believe that at all. I think he's a late first, early second round talent overall. But the Giants desperately need a quarterback. Sanders' name will sell jerseys. It will sell seats. You're going to want to watch him play. And then on the off chance Daboll gets fired, go after Coach Prime. See if he wants to coach his kid. I think that's not a terrible idea. We'll see. I don't know how well he'll do, but I think quarterbacks go way earlier than they should. And so there's your first two quarterbacks off the board at picks 2 and 3. Leaving New England in an interesting spot here. They need to go probably on the offensive side of the ball. Travis Hunter being there is super tempting. Very hard to even consider passing on him, but I'm going to. I'm going to pass on him at this spot because they need a wide receiver more than anything else, in my opinion. I know they need offensive line help. I don't like any of them at pick 4 for them. I'm going to go with Tedero McMillan, man. I'm going to go with the size freak. This guy is a freak. I know I've been a little down on him in previous mocks, Rightfully so, right? How many guys of this size do we see succeed? Not a ton, but he's a big body receiver. He's obviously put up the numbers. I mean, 2,700 yards in 2 seasons and 18 touchdowns. Crazy numbers at Arizona. He's going to be good, and he gives Drake May a huge target to throw the ball to. And obviously, this is pre-free agency. We will do mock drafts post-free agency, but right now, that wide receiver room is probably the worst in the league. So I'm going to go Tedderell McMillan there. Pick 5. Jacksonville Jaguars say, thank you very much. We'll take the best cornerback in the class in Travis Hunter. Maybe they move on from Christian Kirk. Maybe Travis Hunter plays a little bit of offense too. However, his value is as a corner, and that's what PFF has him listed as a corner. I think that Travis Hunter should stick to corner, but there's nothing wrong with giving him a couple of offensive reps a game. Something to think about. The guy's got fantastic hands. He's he's learning to be a very good route runner. He could play both ways, but that's exhausting, and I'd rather him be an A-plus corner than like a B corner and a C-plus wide receiver. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Give me Travis Hunter at pick 5 to Jacksonville. Vegas on the clock here. Disappointed that there isn't a quarterback really for them. Wide receivers have both gone. So I'm going to give them I'm not going to go Mason Graham. They've got Christian Wilkins. They just paid him. They do not need to invest in the defensive line anymore. They've got Max Crosby still on roster. They've got Christian Wilkins. They've got guys over there. What they don't have is a good corner. And Will Johnson is a very good corner. He would have an argument for CB1, mainly because his size is perfect for the position. Was great at Michigan. I think that that's a solid pick for them. And it just leads right into the Jets here at pick 7, where I constantly go with Mason Graham. If Mason Graham is there at pick 7, Aaron Glenn, new head coach of the Jets, is going to be salivating at the thought of having him on that defensive line and just knowing we are going to be the most physical defensive line in football, potentially. It's a great pick for them, back-to-back Michigan players, and both teams should be very happy with who they got. Carolina on the board here. It's often been like an edge rusher. They could use a DB here. Who do they go with here? I'm not going with a DB. There's not a DB I want for them. Malachi Starks, you could argue, but he's more of the safety type. I think they need corner help more than anything. They're not going to go with a running back, obviously, not a tackle. It's too early for James Pierce, in my opinion. Ooh, man, this is a tough spot. Carolina fans, before I make this pick, who would you guys want in this spot? If you're the Carolina Panthers, where do you go here? I'm going to go with Malachi Starks and give them the do-it-all defensive back out of Georgia. I do think he's one of the 5 best players in the entire draft. He's physical. He's got fantastic instincts for the position. He's just best player available here, and you can't always draft for need, right? You should draft in the first round, in my opinion. You should always draft best player available. If it fits with a need and you're like, yeah, this guy's second best player available, this guy's first, but the need is second, okay, great, go with him. But I think Malachi Starks gives you that Brian Branch type of defensive player who can play slot corner, nickel corner. He can play all over the defense for you and be more of a leader for you. So I like Malachi Starks there. I think you could argue linebacker's a need for them too, but we'll go with Malachi Starks. On the clock here, we've got the New Orleans Saints. They need defensive line help for sure. They're more about the bigger guys, though, on the edge. So, and when you look at defensive tackles, there's not another one on the board that I'm interested in, especially this early. It's just too early for guys like Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant. It's just way too early. So why not dip into that wide receiver class? I think Luther Burden is a excellent wide receiver that was just hurt by the fact that he had Cook throwing him the ball, Connor Cook throwing him the ball, and I think he even missed some time. Like, no offense, Connor Cook, sorry if you're listening to this, but Luther Burden's his draft stock was damaged this season by poor quarterback play. This guy is one of the best route runners in the class. He's got great hands. He's just the shifty type of receiver that's dominating in the NFL right now. And maybe Chris Olave, this concussion issue is serious, man. He might miss a lot of time. He may not be the same guy. Dipping into that wide receiver well when you've still got one of the top receivers in this class available, I think is a smart move. Chicago Bears on the clock here. They need a couple of things. They need a center, they need a guard, they need edge, they need a running back. I've seen a lot of Ashton Genty. Now, obviously, they just hired their new head coach, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson with Jahmyr Gibbs. And a lot of people want to compare Ashton Genty to Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know if I see that. Personally, I don't know if I see that comparison. However, I think Ashton Genty is grossly undervalued. That being said, Ben Johnson, yes, he had that running back. You know what else he had? He had an amazing offensive line. And I think that's what the Bears have to do. And I'm not going to take Will Campbell in this spot. I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks Jr. I think Kelvin Banks Jr. is more of that physical, mauling offensive lineman as opposed to Will Campbell, who, again, I'm a little down on. He's not a bully. I want bullies. Will Campbell does not give me bully vibes. He will not make my 2024, 2025, he will not make the 2025 draft all bully team. I'll tell you that right now. He just won't. San Francisco on the clock here. I'm going to go with a guy that I think we're just all overthinking for some reason, and James Pierce. There's no reason his ADP should be 22. Absolutely not. Because you know who James Pierce reminds me of? Maybe not necessarily stylistically, but coming into the year, he was like top 5 pick in the draft. This guy's awesome. And then he didn't have an insane year, so we're just dropping him down the board. Who did that just happen with? Jared Verse. Jared Verse going into the 2024 NFL draft the year before, right? So before the 2023-2024 season, Jared Verse was a consensus top 5 guy. Consensus. Best edge rusher in the class kind of guy. And then we just let him fall to the Rams. And he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. He looks like a potential future Defensive Player of the Year. He is dominant. If he cut his missed tackle rate down, even by just a touch, right? His pressure numbers were great this year. Jared Verse was awesome. James Pierce is another guy where it's like, why are we devaluing him? Because we can't project. He's not a size, height, speed freak guy. I don't care. I do not care. He is as refined of a pass rusher as you're going to get in this class. He's a very good athlete on top of that, and I think he just fits that defense and what they want to do. I like James Pierce in this spot a lot. Dallas Cowboys on the clock. I do think that if it came down to, oh man, we could go Ashton Genty or we could go Luther Burden. I think I'd go Luther Burden in this spot, truthfully, over Ashton Genty. Luther Burden's not here, man. You need a tackle. You need edge. I'm half tempted to go with Mike Green, who was awesome this year with 17 sacks. But I'm going to go with another guy that is falling down draft boards. I see him like end of the first round type. Absolutely not. And he's not worse than his teammate. Nick Scorton deserves much more credit than this. He feels like a Dallas Cowboy defensive end. I think he played this year slightly heavier than he should have. At Purdue, he was probably pushing 265, 270. They've got him playing at 285. He's 20 years old. He'll be 20 years old on draft night. He's still young. I think if you get him slimmed down just a touch, get him back to playing at his 270 weight, he is going to be just so much better. So much better. I mean, his stats at Purdue were significantly better. I mean, at least he doubled his sack rate at Purdue. I think that Nick Scorton is being undervalued because his season this year, he was asked to bulk up and play a little bit different style. You slim him down just a touch, you can play him all over that defensive line. And the Cowboys have a needed edge. DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent. Micah Parsons is coming up on free agency. Who do you have after them that you're like, that's okay, we got a guy in the wings? I don't know, man. I think Nick Scorton's a really good fit for Dallas. I think Jerry wants to get his Texas boy. And if he's not going to go Ashton Genty, he's going to go Nick Scorton. That's what I think happens there. Dolphins on the clock here, and it's got to be an offensive lineman. The GM, Chris Greer, has came out and said, we understand we need to address the offensive line. Well, you don't have the cap space to do it, Chris, because you've pissed that away. You have to go offensive line with your first pick in the draft. There's no D lineman that I'm like, yes. There's no safety available here that I'm like, yes, get him. So you look at your available offensive line options here. There's a couple guys that are true tackles, and there are a couple guys that will kick inside to guard. I think Will Campbell is going to have to kick inside to guard, and I could see Miami taking him if he's on the board here. I get Liam Eichenberg vibes from Will Campbell. I'll say it. And go back and look at how valued Liam Eichenberg was as a prospect. He was second team All-American. He was a 3-year starter at Notre Dame, where they just breed offensive linemen. And he was a first-round prospect. Eichenberg was. I get Eichenberg vibes from Will Campbell, man. He is too short of arms to stick at tackle, probably. Probably not enough sand in the pants to be a great guard and could get bullied. I have concerns. I'm just going to put that out there. I have concerns. He doesn't give me bully vibes, but he fits Miami. He's more of he could be a really good zone blocking guy. I am praying the pick is Armand Membo. I'm going to go Will Campbell here at pick 13, and I'm going to cringe just a little bit internally. Indianapolis Colts pick 14 here. The pick is clear. That is Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. Could see Mike Green go in this spot. I don't see any DBs that I'm jumping for here if I'm Indianapolis. Tyler Warren is a true do-it-all kind of guy. Could give you 1,000 snaps a season. Can block, can catch, can throw the ball if he has to. Great after the catch. He got a little Dallas Clark to his game. Colts fans, you guys want another type of Dallas Clark? I'm sure you would. Love Tyler Warren to the Colts. I love that fit, giving Anthony Richardson someone to get the ball to. Love that Anthony Richardson's going to work with Josh Allen's quarterback coach, who helped fix his accuracy issues. Let's make this man more accurate, use that athleticism, and let's get him a sure-handed tight end like Tyler Warren. Atlanta Falcons on the clock here, and guys, they don't take edge rushers. They don't do it. They aren't going to do it in the first round. It's just something they haven't done in forever. Love Mike Green as an option for them. Love it. I also can see them going with someone who you can say you can rush the passer, and you can also be a stand-up kind of guy. We don't know what position Jalen Walker is going to maybe fit in the best. I can't believe he's 52nd on their board. That is insane. This is a top 15 talent in the class. I'm going to go Jalen Walker here. Keep him in Georgia. I think that they could say he's a versatile piece on the defense. He can rush the passer. He can play off-ball linebacker and be excellent at it. I think this is a really good pick for Atlanta. And I think he falls just a touch because it's like, what are you going to do at the next level? What position are you going to play at? And I think you get a guy like Raheem Morris who's like, I don't really care, man. I see the talent. Let's ride, you know? So give me Jalen Walker at pick 15, bringing us to the halfway point in the draft. Pick 16, Arizona Cardinals on the clock. Guard, tackle, D-line. Everyone needs offensive linemen, man. It is crazy how everybody needs offensive linemen. They also need a defensive lineman, and I'm going to go with the guy that I actually kept out of my first round last mock draft. I would go with Shamar Stewart. It says edge. This is an interior defensive lineman. He's 6'6", 290 pounds. Yeah, I know you just drafted Darius Robinson in the first round last year. You have to play more than one defensive tackle. You guys know that, right? You can't just run Darius Robinson out there every single play and expect greatness. That just isn't going to happen. So I'm going to go Shamar Stewart here to help bolster that defensive line, give them kind of a tweener, a guy that can rush the passer. Maybe not a speed rusher, but a good bull rusher, really good against the run. Shamar Stewart, I think, is undervalued because he doesn't have flashy stats. As you guys can see, he's only top 2 sacks, but the hurries last year were unbelievable. He was so close so many times. Those sacks will come, and he's also excellent against the run. I think he gives Jonathan Gannon also a really good kind of defensive line chess piece to play and a guy to rotate in with Darius Robinson, who is similar to Shamar Stewart, to be fair. Halfway point in the first round, I want to give a quick shout out to Gold Fine and Bulls Lawyers for the Injured for sponsoring today's video. They are personal injury attorneys, workers' compensation attorneys serving the greater central Illinois area. These are the guys you need to call. Really, if you need any sort of legal advice and you're in Illinois, they will get you to the right people. These are good guys. They're not after just the bottom dollar. They're after the bottom dollar for you. They want to get you as much money as they can, every dollar that you deserve. Give them a phone call. If you have any questions about anything, give them a phone call. 309-673-5144. Make sure you let them know that the Playbook Sports Podcast sent you their way. Moving on, pick 17 here, Cincinnati on the clock. Wide receiver, guard, D-line. The fall stops here. Ashton Jeanty, welcome to the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe they keep T. Higgins, man. Maybe T. Higgins stays on the tag again. They can tag him for $26 million. They've got the cap to do it. Kind of sucks to do that, but if he's there, they don't need a wide receiver. I don't know about a guard here or a D lineman. I think Ashton Jeanty's value for them. I mean, this is a top 5 player in the class that falls strictly because of positional value. I think Ashton Jeanty is going to be excellent in the NFL. I think all of the talk of him struggling in the NFL is he's a good blocker too, man. He's so explosive. The stats aren't there. Where are the stats, dog? Okay, whatever. Don't even need to see him. You guys know how good he is. His stats literally broke PFF's mock draft simulator. So that's all I have to say about that. Get him out there and just give Burrow another weapon and just watch that offense go nuclear. On the clock, Seattle up here. They need interior offensive linemen. They've got, tackles. I don't think Josh Simmons' profiles fit in at guard. I think that they've got to get a guy that can play guard. And I think Armand Membo deserves to be the pick here, man. He can play the interior. He's a little short to play tackle. I think he could stick. He's got the arm length. He's on my bully list, by the way. He will be on the bully list. Those are the only two I'm going to give you. Campbell isn't. Armand Membo is. He will put you in the turf. He will run. It should be flags. They should be flagging him more often than they are. This guy is awesome. I loved watching his tape. His tape was the most fun I have had so far in this draft cycle. Big fan of Armand Membo. You kick him into guard, and you've got some nasty in there. Like that fit a lot. Tampa Bay on the clock here. For them, it's pretty much always been an edge rusher. And I'm going to go with Mike Green out of Marshall. I can't ignore the productivity this year. I know it was against subpar competition. I don't care. 17 sacks, 32 quarterback hurries, a 92.4 PFF grade. He's got awesome bend. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a younger guy, 21 years old. You desperately need pass rush, and he gives you insane speed off the edge here. Just someone for that defense to have, and kind of in the Shaq Barrett role. but even more explosive than him. His first step is unbelievable. I think Mike Green will be a riser. I don't know if he's playing in the Shrine Bowl or the Senior Bowl, but when he gets to the Combine, assuming he gets an invite, his stock is through the freaking roof, man. Through the roof. Denver on the clock here. This pick's easy for me, man. It's Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I think he is probably up there with Luther Burden as the crispest route runner. And he just gets forgotten in Ohio State because he's always playing with these alpha type of receivers. I mean, he played with Marvin Harrison Jr. for 2 years. Now he's got Jeremiah Smith there. And it's always guys that are just borderline generational wide receivers taking his thunder. He's got a lot of Jackson Smith and Jigba to his game. And I think if you're Denver, you love that pick. Now, maybe they go get a T. Higgins in free agency like I've seen a lot of. Maybe they don't. Maybe they stick with what they got and they say, nope, we trust the draft process. We like the guys that could be available to us. We'll go with Emeka Egbuka at pick 20. Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock here. QB, wide receiver, and DB. I'm not sure I can sneak Jalen Milroe into the first round still. I just don't think I can do it, man. He's fallen way down. I'm glad that Trevor and the PFF team have moved him properly down. I'm not taking Dylan Gabriel. I just don't know if I can pull the trigger on Jalen Milroe, so I'm looking wide receiver or DB for them. Probably go Benjamin Morrison here. Maybe a touch earlier than I would like him to go. I've got some, but I'm not drafting for these other teams. I'm drafting based on what these teams might do. I think Benjamin Morrison would be a really good corner for them, and he would be someone just opposite Joey Porter Jr. to help continue to lock up that defense and just build into the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. So let's go Benjamin Morrison here, and you get him at a bit of a discount. I think he's a top 15 player in the entire draft, and thanks to the injury for him this year and not being able to play the full season, he drops a little bit, and I think that's a win. LA on the clock here. They need defensive line. They maybe need a running back, a wide receiver. I think the running back class is absolutely stacked, and you should wait to take one there. I'm not in on Matthew Golden being this high just yet. I'm getting there. I'm not there yet. I need more time considering him as a second-round guy before I'll really consider putting him in the first-round talk. It's lazy. It's maybe not the most exciting, but Chargers fans, I got to know, are you guys excited about getting Colston Loveland here? What do you guys think about that? Just a security blanket for Herbert. Like, he got you to the playoffs based on defense and running the ball and not turning it over because he didn't have the weapons, right? You're relying on Quentin Johnston, who's got no hands at all, except for week 18 to confuse us all. And then Ladd McConkey, who was excellent as a rookie. You need something else there. There's no explosive wide receiver I want. I'm going with Colston Loveland, and I'm just going to continue to give Jim Harbaugh a Michigan guy. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm sorry. Deal with it. Green Bay on the clock here. Wide receiver, center, edge, corner are their listed needs here. Michael Williams still being available is interesting. He just doesn't feel like a Packer to me, so I'm not going to go with him. I'm not going to go with Jack Sawyer. Let's see who we got available that we would like. Do they need a tackle? They might need a tackle. Left tackle Rasheed Walker was playing left tackle for them. They've got a nice right tackle in Zach Tom. I'm not opposed to Josh Connerly or Josh Simmons here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go with Josh Simmons here. The fact that he's still on the board is crazy. It's just didn't work out quite right for some other teams to take him over ones. Once you get past really the Cardinals, who have a listed need as a tackle, there's not many other tackle needy teams down here. That's why they're all in the playoffs, right? These are all playoff caliber teams. Josh Simmons is too damn good to be on the board still here. I could see him turning into a Trent Williams type of player. Maybe he's not a bully, but he is so good. I think he could be left tackle 1 in this entire class, personally. Houston Texans on the clock here, and I'm going to give them my favorite offensive lineman, one of my favorite offensive linemen, Wyatt Milam, bully. Maybe, no spoilers. Definitely going to be a guard, I think, at the next level. You can see it as a tackle in his tape. You can see the deficiency in lateral agility. He's not the quickest guy. Oh, I sent him to Minnesota on accident. Crap. I could have sworn Houston was ahead of them. Okay. Right here, everybody. Right here. That's Houston's pick. Wyatt Milam going to Houston. Minnesota on the clock. Minnesota, I want to give them Omarion Hampton so bad. I think he would be so good in that offense, but I have to give Brian Flores some talent on the defense, so we're going to go Kenneth Grant. So these picks are actually Kenneth Grant at pick 24 to Minnesota and Wyatt Milam at pick 25 to Houston. Sorry for everybody. I must have just not looked at that appropriately. Kenneth Grant right in the middle of that Minnesota defense is something that they need. They also need corner. I could see them going with someone like Siobhan Ravel or even Jahdae Barron, guys that you will probably see later on in this video here. But I like Kenneth Grant for Minnesota, and I love Wyatt Milam to slide in at guard for Houston. I mean, we saw it. 8 sacks against Kansas City. They got absolutely ravaged, and Chris Jones was a menace in that game. You need help on the interior. Michael Dieter is your starting center, and your guards are pitiful. Please fix the interior of that offensive line and give C.J. Stroud a chance. My God. So Wyatt Milam to Houston, I think that's a steal for them. Rams on the clock here. I still think they need a tackle. People think they want a corner. I think they really could use a tackle. But I'm going to give in to the people here. I'm going to give in to the people. What if I give him Trey Amos? What do we think about Trey Amos? I like Trey Amos. I'm even higher on Trey Amos than I was. I think he's the boundary type of corner, whereas Jahdae Barron is more of your slot corner. And I think they need a boundary corner. So I'm going to go with Trey Amos here. First time I've had him in my first round mock drafts. I could see them going with a tackle for sure. But let's go with Trey Amos. Let's change it up a little bit here. I think they need a corner. I could see Sean McVay wanting to fix up that defense and saying the offense was good enough this year. Defense needs more young pieces around it. While obviously they have addressed the defense like crazy, I'm still going to go Trey Amos. Can't change my pick now. Baltimore on the clock here. They also need offensive linemen, but man, I want to give them Jahdae Barron. And then you've got Marlon Humphrey. You've got Nate Wiggins on the boundary. Kyle Hamilton can get out of that slot role and get out of playing in the box and play more as a true safety. And Jahdae Barron can lock down the slot. That becomes a nasty defense. That becomes a nasty secondary, along with who they have at linebacker and Roquan Smith. And then their defensive line has dogs all over it. I'm going Jahdae Barron, man. He was DB of the year in college football. I'm not going to ignore that. I think he fits Baltimore's defense really nicely as slot. I know that people are pissed because they want a tackle. They want an offensive lineman. Just re-sign Ronnie Stanley and make your lives easier. The offensive line can be addressed. I think the value for offensive linemen is in the second round. That's where you kind of get the good value picks there. There's always guards, and some teams just don't value drafting guards, and Baltimore's one of them. They value corner. They took it a boundary corner last year, and their defense was still terrible this year. Jahdae Barron in the slot, and you've got Humphrey and Wiggins on the boundary. You're set. There's your defensive backs for the next 2 or 3 seasons, however long Marlon Humphrey wants to keep going. Kyle Hamilton can be pushed back out of the box a little bit. I like that pick for Baltimore a lot. Detroit on the clock. I've been mocking this forever, and I'm going to continue to do it. Jack Sawyer. He just feels like a Detroit Lion. He complements Aiden Hutchinson really well. He's a defensive lineman. He's an edge rusher where he's not a number 1 edge rusher, but he's an awesome number 2. An awesome number 2. So give me Jack Sawyer to Detroit. Washington, fresh off of a huge win over Detroit. I'm going to go with Mykel Williams here. Bit of a steal in my opinion. They really need help on defense. I'm going to ignore the offensive line, which is always dicey to do, but I think Mykel Williams offers you something that you don't have. You have great interior defensive linemen in Washington. You only have great edge rushers. The whole defense was just a bunch of cast-offs, man. It was going into the year, it's like, oh, God, they're going to give up 1,000 points. How are they going to stop anybody? I don't know. And then they did. And Dan Quinn getting his hands on Mykel Williams, I think he was awesome. He would be awesome in a 3-4 style defense. He can rush the passer. He's young, only 20 and a half years old. He'll be 20 on draft night. And he can drop back in coverage, too. He's athletic enough to do that. I like the Mykel Williams fit to Washington here. It's great value for them. Buffalo on the clock here. It's going to be an interior defensive lineman for me. It's going to be Walter Nolan for me. Walter Nolan, I just think, is just so damn tough, man. He's so hard to move. He's so strong. And he just beefs up that defensive line of the Buffalo Bills, who need to get bigger, faster, stronger on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I know you're playing in the AFC Championship. Shut up. God, you guys I hate the Bills. I'm sorry. But Walter Nolan, plug him in next to Ed Oliver, man, and you've got just a vicious defensive line. Just vicious. Philadelphia on the clock here. Wide receiver, guard, edge, and cornerback. I could see Siobhan Revell here. But I don't think they go corner. They address corner with both of their first 2 picks last year, first and second round. Is there a guy I could move into guard for them as a tackle? There are a few. Gray Zabel profiles as a guard more so than a tackle. I'm trying to find I think I'm going to give him Booker. I feel like Booker's a good fit for them, but let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Jonah Savai-Inaya, I think, should be higher up than this, but I'm not going to move him all the way up into the first round. Let's see, offensive guards here. Yeah, I'm going to give him Tyler Booker. Although Tate Ratledge makes a ton of sense for them and their Georgia connections. They always draft Georgia players, so I could totally see that being the pick here. Oh, man, it's going to be really interesting to see where Philadelphia goes. Do they go edge rusher? Josh Sweat is a free agent. Let's explore that avenue here. Princely Uman Mielen is someone I've given them very often. Maybe I just stay with that. They need edge. They always draft in the trenches. I think this pick is interior offensive line or it's an edge rusher. And when you look at the interior offensive line versus the edge rusher, I think the value to be had here is an edge rusher. So let's go ahead and give them Princely Umanmielen. Awesome via PFF. Man, I mean, stats speak for themselves. Great size for the position. Really good bend. Not too old. 22 years old. Probably be 23 on draft night. Let's go with Princely here. Bringing up the Kansas City Chiefs to round this out. Guys, it's a tackle. This pick is a tackle. Good. Moving on. It's going to be Josh Connerly. I love Josh Connerly. I think this is a bit of a steal, truthfully. The more I watch him, the more I like him. Great size for tackle. This is a true tackle. He's not going anywhere. He's going to stay right there. Now, could they get somebody who has guard flexibility, especially if Trey Smith leaves? Absolutely, you could. But I think you have to address tackle. Juwan Taylor was good this year as your right tackle. You do not have a left tackle to speak about. Please protect Patrick Mahomes. Don't get him killed. I'm going to go Josh Connerly at pick number 32. So that's all I've got for you guys on this week's mock draft. This was more of a what I think these teams will do. I will have a what I would do coming up soon. Again, these are mainly based on what holes they have, player value, and at picks. I think that certain guys just make sense. You just have to take that value at those picks, especially someone like Michael Williams at 29. You have to take that value. The Dolphins, Will Campbell, you probably have to take that value there. Now, I'm curious to see your guys' comments. Please let me know what you guys think about these picks to your teams. I will not put Jalen Milroe in the first round yet. I'm just not there. I can't do that. Nope. Absolutely not. So 2 quarterbacks go in the first 3 picks. I think that those are mistakes, but I think that's what they do because you need quarterbacks. So if you guys are not already subscribed, make sure you guys hit that red subscribe button. Comment, let me know if you like your team's pick or who I passed on that you're like, no, you have to take that guy. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to talk about it in the comments. I answer every single one of your guys' comments, and that's never going to change. So I'll see you guys in the comment section. We'll see you guys for more videos later this week as we continue to dive into the free agent class and talk about the current playoffs as they're going. We'll see you guys in the next one.